going on, everybody? And welcome to another episode of Life of a Sim Racer. My name, of course, is Brandon, and tonight we're going to get into what happened in the Real Sim Racing Series race at Phoenix. This happened about 2 weeks ago. We actually had an off week, so that's why there was no video, if you guys were wondering why there was no video. Um, but we took a little break, but we're back and ready to go. Before we get into it, I got to give an attaboy to my co-host, who is the hottest driver in the series right now, the driver of the number 66 Circle B diecast Chevy Camaro, Mr. Brandon Six. What's up, my man? How you feeling tonight?
Pretty good. Either hottest or luckiest. I don't know which.
Well, I mean, if you really want to put a pin in it, I guess you could say you are Alex Bowman, the hack, I guess.
I mean, I'll just go. I could go with the closer right now.
Okay, I can, yeah, I can see that. What was that? Auto Club, you got to win there. Led 1 lap, 2 laps maybe. Now here you did lead, sorry, quite a bit of laps. So this one's this one was a little bit different.
Yeah, it wasn't too many though.
Yeah. So you've been on an amazing roll in the series and have definitely carried our team, keeping it real, in the last couple of races. When it comes to driver and team points, especially, where the hell did all that come from? Because I remember when you used to hate doing fixed setup races, but you're out here putting on a clinic on the whole field. What's your secret? Tell me, please, because I need that little extra bit, to actually finish these races without getting collected or self-spinning or something. What's your secret, man? Tell me something.
I mean, honestly, I still hate fixed racing, and and a lot of it's just honestly because I'm not a fan of tight sets, but which is what most of these sets are. But honestly, just practice. I mean, like anything, you put enough time and practice into it. I mean, you adapt to it and find ways to be faster. I mean, as you know, this week we've put a ton of time into Coda, so
Yeah.
I think that's going to pay off for us as well.
Yeah, I'll definitely agree to that. I think, with especially, and for the people who don't know, Coda is the Circuit of the Americas. It is a road course based off in Texas. It's I don't remember how there's 20 something turns. I could be wrong. I know there's a lot of them, but as you know, there's a lot going on there. There's also a lot of stuff going on in the background of the race. It's Coda is fun. It's definitely a technical track. But I agree 100%. I mean, practice is what everybody needs, especially at road courses. There's a couple ringers, I will say, that are pretty damn fast that we had to look out for. Matt Danson, Cody Harris, Liam Sheen, Kevin King. I don't include myself because I don't really think I'm that good of a road racer, but I manage and I do decently. I think you're pretty good as well. So it's unfortunately I see that being, kind of how the race is going to be toward the end. It's going to be a battle between us, a handful of drivers. But don't want to go too much into next week. We'll talk about that during the next episode and how that went and everything. So I'm going to start off with you. Thinking back to Phoenix, it's been 2 weeks. I know it's been a little while. But if you could just go ahead and kind of give us a little bit of how your race went.
Yeah, like you said, it's been 2 weeks, so kind of forgot most of that race by now, but
Right.
obviously some clear chaos. But I do remember starting P2, had a good qualifying time. I will say I do feel pretty comfortable hot lapping in this car. I just got to figure out short run speed during the race. I think that's my probably weak point. But We had a bunch of short runs, I know, for like the first 70 to 80 laps of that race. It was just kind of, my opinion, boring because the field kept mostly wrecking for stupid stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But went smooth. I kept losing, I think, positions here and there throughout those restarts just because I take off very slow off restarts. And but once we had that green flag run, I think I had an incident below Jaren in 1 and 2 where I washed up the track and slid the right front, and it hooked it. Surprisingly enough, that I think I fell back to 8th or 9th, and then I was able to hold off Kevin there for a while because he had to work his way back up through the field, and then I think we had a caution with like 15 to go. And then that's when things got pretty interesting because I saw that and I was like, well, I already have a win in the basket. I'm like, I'm going to see what 2 tires is like in this car. It could be really bad. It could be really good. Luckily, it turned out really good for me. Obviously got the win. Now, I will say the 2 tires, it didn't feel bad, but at the same time, I never really ran long enough to see if it's even like a viable option for other racetracks. I mean, one thing I do know is I definitely need to change my brake bias when I go to 2 tires because I almost wrecked it on the final lap.
Yeah, and we're definitely gonna talk about that later on. That was we got the whole clip of the final restart. It's definitely one to take a look at.
Oh yeah, for sure. But yeah, for the most part, obviously things went as planned for me. I think I was a top 5 car at most of that race. I don't think I was truly a winning car, but as I like to say, if I can put myself in the position to be in the top 5, you always have a shot to win. So that's usually my goals. Usually top 5, top 10s if I have the speed, and then maybe a win will come out of it, or I just have the raw speed. But how'd your race go?
Well, my race was pretty interesting. My race started off kind of bad. At the beginning of the race, my computer was struggling. And in return, it was hard to race because it would kind of skip. Kind of like a yo-yo kind of effect. It was really weird. But I didn't want to cause a caution or wreck anybody or anything like that. So I actually fell back. I don't know what lap that was. Maybe lap 6 or 7. And I just rode in the back until I can kind of figure out what was going on. I was thankfully able to figure out that whatever I had running in the background, applications and stuff like that, was actually causing it to really cause issues while I was racing. So I just went ahead and cut all that crap out, and when I came back in the game, everything was smooth sailing. So, you know, other than that, I mean, the race was I mean, for me, it was okay. To be honest, I saw a lot of lack of respect between drivers as I tried to move through the field. I was lucky to not get involved until we had the big one. And let's just say my chance of a top 5 was gone. So, and we'll get into that accident later, which is actually one of the biggest wrecks I've probably been in at Phoenix. I have another one that years ago got flipped over the pit wall, but I've actually never been flipped. And again, we'll get into that. I don't want to tell too much. But coming to the end, I was sitting in the top 10, but I had a lot of damage, and it was hard to just kind of keep pace. But I just kept plucking along. People kept falling out, hitting the wall, stuff like that. So I ended up, I believe, finishing either 11th or 12th after the points and penalties kind of shook out. So overall, it kind of sucked. I felt like I really had a top 5. Was I going to win? Probably not. I don't think I had, your type of speed, but I did feel like it was definitely a top 5 car. And 11th isn't bad, but, when you're going for a championship, you need to try and collect as many points as you can, because you never know when someone's going to get on a roll, like yourself, and just start plucking out wins. and every win is, locks yourself in even further, so you don't get, kicked out. Are we gonna have more than 16 drivers wins? Maybe, maybe not, but just in case, definitely want to be ready for that. Um, so six, I guess quickly overall, what was your feeling of how the race went?
Overall, honestly, probably I might chuck it up as one of the worst ones we've had so far.
Mm,
Yes, we had that like 60 lap green flag run, I think, at one point in that race. But the whole first like 80 laps of that race, caution fest for I think no apparent reason. It's like just settle in, let people kind of figure out the car, and then we'll get more aggressive as the race goes on. Now, obviously, end of race, I kind of expect that because everyone's trying to get as much as they can off these restarts, and obviously we know with the dog leg, it gets pretty crazy pretty quickly. So
yeah, yeah, definitely.
hence why I took the 2 tires and hoping that chaos would happen and it would pay off. So, but for the most part, it definitely one of the worst ones so far. But honestly, we don't have to worry about cautions next week.
Very true. Coda does not have cautions. Unfortunately, I wish they did. Um, they kind of bunch up the field, but that's the way that the league is run. We don't run cautions, and we basically just run the full race. Whether somebody wrecks or crashes or anything like that, we have local cautions, local yellows. Basically, this means you just need to be cautious around that corner or coming around a corner or whatever. But we actually don't have a chance to kind of bunch the field back up and kind of re-rack them and try again, which I think that would actually make the racing better. Because it just changes the flow and just makes for different strategies and stuff like that. But I don't want to harp on that too much. That's one of my things put on the wish list, but I guess eventually, maybe one day we'll see that. But I guess I'll go into my feelings a little bit really quickly. I felt the race was, to be honest, was a shit show. To be completely honest with you, lots of careless mistakes and not enough give and take. As I stated before, the league is too good to be having as many cautions as we did. Now, I will credit the drivers for having a decent long run, but once that caution came out, the big one happened and took out over half the field. So I knew it would get better, and it will get better. As the league goes on and it a lot of these drivers get more and more used to the car track combination, being around some of the newer people in the league. Again, I know it will get better, but it's just frustrating. It's just frustrating to put all that time in, trying to get better at the track, and get caught up in somebody else's mistake after there's nothing you can do. But go ahead.
Just to touch on like you're saying there, basically, I think a lot of it comes down to some people just either because they don't have time through the week or whatever it may be. Like we were just saying with me, to me it's just practice, and practice. The more practice you put into this car, I think the less instance we'll see. But unfortunately, not everyone has that time to put into it.
Oh, look, I get that. I understand it. This is kind of why I came up with the idea of the channel called Life of a Sim Racer, because there's other things in life that are more important than sim racing. For example, I have a newborn. I have, well, not really a newborn anymore. I mean, she'll be 3 months on the 28th. But I have that. I'm about to start work back up again. I've been off for 3 months. You know, I have another daughter who is 7 years old. Trying to keep her busy and active. I have a wife that I have to make sure I spend enough time with and make sure I spend enough time with the family. So I get it. Life is busy. I get it. But in my opinion, there needs to be at some point some type of practice. Now I understand the league. We've changed the amount of time that we get as far as practice. We went from 30 minutes to now we get an hour. I really haven't seen any difference in the quality of the racing yet. Um, because of that change. So I'm hoping maybe Coda might change that. We'll see. But it's I don't know. It's kind of a touchy subject because I understand people's situation. I understand life is important and you can't just sit around and practice all damn day. Like I get that, but at the same time, I'm like, even 30 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day just to get on, just to run a couple laps, just to kind of do like a little shakedown or whatever. I feel like that could be beneficial to not only a veteran like yourself, or to be a rookie and just put in maybe 15-30 minutes a day, or not even per day, maybe just every couple of days, just put a little bit of time into it. That way you're just more comfortable instead of trying to come in and you're just no practice, no nothing, and you're just cold turkey in it, and then you go into lap one, turn one, and you take out half the damn field. So
Yeah, I say, as we know from, at least from me practicing, and I know you practicing, I mean, heck, you could spend just half our practice trying to figure out maybe the right settings that work for you or whatever it may be. Um, so you could just waste a lot of time in that. And then by the time you figure it out, then it's like, okay, you only have maybe 20 minutes to half an hour to actually then run some consecutive laps to get used to it.
yeah, it's and like I said, it's a lot, and honestly, that's where being on a big team helps. We have people on our team, keeping it real, where they aren't able to test all the time, and that's perfectly fine. We basically created like a workbook for all the drivers to be able to jot down notes when they can get on and test and practice and that type of stuff. So it's just a matter of putting the effort. If you put in the effort, then I think as a driver you will eventually get better. If you don't put in the effort, then I honestly feel that you're just gonna get what you got. And maybe you get lucky and maybe you do get a win. Or you go as I would expect and you'll run like crap. So it's different ways to think about it, different way to look at it. As we go in more and more into the season, I think this conversation will grow, and as we bring on people, we'll definitely get their insight and stuff like that, because I think it's important for the audience and people and other drivers as well to kind of understand, like, hey, you don't actually have to spend all day racing. That's what the coke drivers do. They spend half a day racing and practicing and stuff like that to try and beat the competition. They were also racing for $300,000 or something like that. So that's a completely different scenario. All I'm asking is for you to maybe put 15-20 minutes into practice every couple of days, so that way we don't continue to have all these cautions, so that way we can have smoother racing and cleaner racing. That's all I'm asking for. And are we gonna get it? Probably not, but like I said, as the season goes, we'll see. Hopefully it'll get better, and then we'll really have some really fun racing and strategy to really come into play. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. But I think we're going to be going off to the incidents of the race now.
Yes, exactly. But before we get into the next segment, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Helps make more content. Helps us, makes more content for you guys, and that we know what you like and what you don't like, and tells YouTube you actually like what we're doing. So, since we are moving on to the next segment, which is the cautions, which thankfully there aren't a boatload of cautions. A lot of these are just straightforward, and they're just basically clips. So while the clips is going in the background, we can kind of just go over and say what's going on and why the hell some of these things even happened. But what's the first clip we're going to be getting into?
I have lap 25 with the 14 car.
All right, let's get into it. All right, boys and girls, kids as well. We are back. So this is going to be lap 25. you're gonna ride with me first, just to look at it from coming from as I pass the car who gets into an incident, which is the 14 of James Ross. I believe he hits the car behind me, Dylan Parker. So I'll let it roll, and then we can kind of talk about it as it moves on. But as you can see, the 14 is up high. You guys can't hear it, but he actually shifts, forgets to shift again to shift up, and ends up collecting the 3 and believe the car behind him.
Well, it also didn't help that he didn't go out to the wall either.
Yeah, I don't know if he even knew that Dylan was actually coming at that kind of rate of speed. But if you actually listen closely, you can actually hear like he's actually hitting the chip, like he's stuck in that gear, and he's not he's not getting out of that gear, which is really weird. I guess I'm thankful that I passed him right before all that happened, because knowing my luck, I probably would have got caught up right in that, along with like Sean Kalis did right there at the end. So
like I was saying, like the weird thing to me is like, yeah, he downshifted and was like stuck in the gear, but I mean, he could have still drove it to the outside. Like he should be heading towards the wall at that point.
yeah, instead of turning to the left, which I don't know. I don't know. Only thing I can think of is he just didn't realize that Dylan was there, and he let me go, and then was gonna turn down, I guess, follow in my tracks. I don't really know. It was actually really weird, because it took me a little while to kind of figure out like what the hell actually happened. But like I said, when I rode with him, or when you ride with him, and you actually hear like he downshifts coming out of the corner, and then after he downshifts, he never upshifts anymore. Like he just stays in that gear and just rests it
Probably
out.
with him hitting the chip as hard as he was, he probably had to burp the throttle to get it to the shift. Is my guess, but he didn't do that.
Probably. That's probably definitely a good assumption of what was going on. But yeah, so that was pretty straightforward. What do we have going on next, sir?
I have lap 70 with the 77 car.
All right, let's take a look. All right, we are back. This one again, this one going to be on lap 70. We are going to ride along with Mr. Pascarella, and we're going to see some strange behavior going into turn 1, as he gets into the back of Shane Parrish, and unfortunately, Mr. Ross Cato is collected in it as well. Tell me what you're seeing, Six.
Yeah, we got James here. Basically, got a good run off of 4 there. Going into turn 1, and just almost full sends it in there. It was almost like either he had an incident with Parrish before and was actually targeting him based off how deep he drove in there, or wasn't paying attention to his braking marker. I have no idea. Like, there's no reason anyone should be driving in that deep, because I think he didn't lift until like the 1 marker, which is ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. When I
mean,
saw this for the first time, it was it's pretty blatant on what I thought happened, but I didn't. I don't know if he intentionally went out and tried to wreck Shane because of maybe an incident that happened earlier, but I went back and watched basically the whole race, and at no point did I ever see anything that was malicious or anything like that. So I'm gonna chuck it up as he had a duh moment and forgot how hard he needed to brake. I don't know. But at the same time, it doesn't even look like he hit the brakes at all. I don't know. I mean, that's...
Well, I mean, so there's a couple issues with this. One, he drove in so deep that, like I said, he didn't lift until like the one marker, and probably by the time he hit the brake that deep into the corner, it just kicked the rear end out. So he was basically screwed at that point. Um, I think for reference, I think I was braking at like the 2.5 cone marker roughly. So that just tells you how far into the corner he drove.
Yeah, I mean he drove it further in the corner, or how Mr. Kurt Busch would say, you drive it in there till you see Jesus. That's basically what he did. Because nobody, I haven't seen anybody, that whole week of practice drive it in that far and actually make it stick. Um, but at the same time, I guess if you did make a mistake in driving in that deep, I guess you would try to lock up the brakes. But I don't see that or hear that either. So again, I said it was weird. I don't know if it was intentional, but I know for a fact that I'll be watching how I race around the 77
I
from now
mean,
on.
if he was trying not to actually wreck anybody, he should have just yanked it left and then locked the brake down.
Agreed.
I
Agreed
mean,
100%.
because there was not going to be much he could have done in that situation. Because I mean, the only other option is for him to. I think he could have sent it in that far, possibly, if you let it roll in while easing in the brake. Now you're going to be sending it way up to the wall at that point, but you might have a chance. But the problem is, as you saw, he had so much speed in the corner that he just ran over the guy in front of him. So
Yeah. Okay. Well, that unfortunately was another cut dry incident. I mean, call it like you call it a spade. It just looked bad overall. So moving on, what is the next one, sir?
I have lap 143 with the 29 car and 48 car.
All right, let's get into it. All right, we are back on lap 143. For this one, we're gonna ride with our teammate, Mr. Chris Rabel, your special guest on the show last week. If you haven't listened to that, that was a good one. Go back and take a look at that video. But this was also a little bit interesting. Unfortunately, this is actually something that happens a lot. Basically, you're 3 wide and you don't know. You only see the car to the left of you. You can't see the car below him, which unfortunately was our other teammate, Michael Johnson, who unfortunately was caught up in that as well. But as you're seeing the different views, you're seeing Chris come down, because normally in that lane, when you're that high, you actually would turn down. So would Y-Master. But of course, if there's a car below you, you do want to give space. And unfortunately, it's just one of those things where Y-Master could have probably came down a little bit to not maybe get hit as hard as how Chris hit him. But unfortunately, that has to go to blame to our teammate. Even if he didn't know they were 3 wide. Again, as I stated, the first point that I made is this is something that happens all the time when you don't know that you're 3 wide, because it's really hard to see to your left. As you can see in this view, you only can see probably a fender. You can't see the car all the way on the bottom. But what do you think?
Yeah,
Chris?
the unfortunate part, yes, it's on Chris in hindsight, but like in a way, it's kind of a racing deal too. I mean, it's just off a restart, and we know how restarts here are at Phoenix. As you see here, just everyone dies for the apron if you're on the inside for the most part. And a lot of times, some people just get a better run on you on the bottom side, and sometimes you get these 2, 3, and sometimes you see 4 wide going into that corner. Which just unfortunately makes it really hard from a driver standpoint, because a lot of times your spotter won't call it until super late, or just doesn't call it at all, because it's just like such a last second thing. So yeah, I mean, unfortunately, like I said, that's kind of on Chris, but Not much he could have done either, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, unless you have a live actual spotter. I mean, a lot of us only have, spotters that are basically sim related. So in other words, they're just a computer, and it just tells you when you're 3 wide, 2 wide, and etc. etc. When you have a situation like this, you kind of need that live spotter to tell you, hey, don't turn left, or don't, hold your position or hold your lane. Because everything is happening so fast. It's a lot of things that I tell the team. You got to stay liquid, so you need to be able to adjust quickly. And it's like you said, it is a racing incident. All 3 cars got involved, and unfortunately, Michael Johnson unfortunately had the worst end of it. But as you'll see as we go over some more, that wasn't the one that did him in. So, what do we have next, sir?
Lap 147 with the 51 car.
All right, let's check it out. All right, this is gonna be lap 148 now, ladies and gentlemen. This is the biggest damn race. I'm sorry, let me clarify. This is the biggest damn wreck I think I've ever been involved in. But I have no other words, so I'm gonna let Mr. Six go ahead and talk you through it. It's pretty wild.
As you see here, we're riding with Mr. Wetmore. Off the restart here. This is getting towards the end of the race. They're fighting real hard, obviously. Eberhardt sends it in deep to try and clear Sam, and then Wetmore kind of rolls to center, and Eberhardt, I think, has to almost like check up because of how hard he drove in. Unfortunately, Wetmore just ran him over, and after that, it was pure chaos.
It was.
And I know. As you'll see in one of these clips, from my point of view, I was leading, and next thing I know, I hear teammates calling wreck, wreck, wreck. And I look at my rearview mirror, and I just see not a soul. Like, I was the only one, I'm pretty sure, not getting damage out of that wreck. Unfortunately, Tui, as you see here, gets sent up over on his hood.
Yep. Yep, that happened.
And which is really disappointing, because obviously Chris was caught up in that, you were caught up in that. I think MJ, pretty much everybody.
The whole team, for the most part, got involved in that somehow, some way.
But I know you and Chris were definitely near the top 5 area, so you were definitely having a good race at that point, and unfortunately, this happened. So.
Yeah, as you can see, me getting flipped on over, and definitely was a wild ride. The car after that, I honestly don't know how it still drove. I had quite a bit of damage. And still managed to come back and finish 11th. So, if that kind of tells you how big this wreck was, multiple car. I think, if I remember correctly, 6 was the only car left after this incident without a scratch on the car. I don't think he got a scratch on the car until 2 to go, which is crazy. Wow, look at that. That hit. Those hits, man. I mean, mine was crazy, but some of those hits are like, are you okay?
Well, like you said, I mean, I've been on iRacing for 13 years now, and that honestly might be the biggest wreck I've ever seen on the sim. Like, that's actually ridiculous. Like, I've seen some big wrecks at Daytona, Talladega, but nothing like that, where it's just a full track block.
Yeah, that's the one thing about these tracks. When you have basically a wall on the inside and outside, and you only can maybe fit 4 cars abreast. You have situations like that when the track is blocked and it's nowhere to go. So it's another unfortunate event, and this is a really unfortunate event because it took out a lot of cars. I mean, you just see people just driving into it, but it is what it is. Unfortunately, you'll live and learn. I don't know what you can really learn from that, but not be caught up in it. But moving on, what we got next, buddy?
We have lap 152 with our teammate, the 39 car.
All right. All right, we are back on lap 153. We are going to be riding along with our teammate Michael Johnson, who unfortunately, not really sure what happened. It just looks like he maybe was trying to move over. From that view, it just looks like he ran him over, which, I mean, we know Michael Johnson didn't do that intentionally. But in one of the views, you do see that the 23 of Matt Maher, he comes over I mean, just ever so often to the left, where MJ was actually trying to get a run, and I think right there, you can kind of see that that's where they connect. Unfortunately, I believe they probably would have hit either way, but I don't think the wreck would have been as big. Maybe I think it might have just pushed Matt up the track a little bit. So unfortunately, this was a unfortunate incident. I know I say that a lot. A lot of these cautions and wrecks are unfortunate. But you know, they had been caught up in some incidents before. I don't think Matt had a lot of damage, but you know, MJ was caught up in 2 or 3 accidents before then. So you know, he was just trying to make up spots and try to get the best finish he could for himself and for the team. But that didn't happen. But what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like not much to say. It seems pretty straightforward. MJ was trying to make a move there, obviously end of race, trying to get as many positions as possible, and just unfortunately ran over Matt. Obviously it's not intentional, but yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say about it.
Pretty cut and dry to me.
Pretty cut and dry.
All right. Not that many more. What's the next one we got?
On to 163 with the 13 car.
Ooh, I know this one. This one's juicy. All right. Lap 163. We're riding along with Mr. Jeremy Miller. And Mr. Six is to the left of him as he is going to try and outsmart us on this restart. So let's take a look.
Yeah, as you see here, we're going into our second rewrite checkered, and Jerry Miller tries to anticipate my restart based off my, I think, previous 2 starts. I was kind of going middle box, the restart box, and he thought I was going to go there again, and I was planning on going in the same zone as I did the previous starts, but then I kind of could tell he was starting to anticipate it, so I delayed it until the end of the box, and sure enough, he went, and obviously had to slam on brakes, otherwise he would have got black flagged. But by doing that, unfortunately caused another big wreck. Took out obviously Sean here, and I think Chris got collected in that, which were in the top 5 at that point, so unfortunately they got kind of screwed out of that. But what did you see?
I blame you. I'm gonna blame you for that shit. No, seriously. Yeah, the restart box games is part of racing. It is. I mean, we watch one of the best drivers out there, Jimmy Johnson, I believe. Don't remember the year, maybe 2016, Dover. I think it was Juan Montoya is leading, Jimmy Johnson is second. Juan Montoya supposedly spun his tires, and Jimmy Johnson was able to hook up, had beat him to the line. Because of that, he got black flagged. Jimmy Johnson pleads with NASCAR he lifted, he tried to give him the spot back, but he blew the restart so damn bad that there's nothing he can do. NASCAR said, nope, come down, do your penalty. Cause you jumped the start, not him. So a lot of us, of course, because the majority of us watch NASCAR, so we kind of know how those games, are. But the rule is in our league is you can restart in the restart box or after. It's not just the restart box. So Jeremy Miller had the right intention, and thinking that hey, he has to go within that box. Yes, that's true, but let me clarify. Yes, it's true in NASCAR. In this league, it's a little bit different. So, that's what I think. It was another week. Kevin King didn't misread the rules as well and got the rules wrong for when to move on the restart. So, gotta read the rules. But this is another cut and dry incident. Unfortunately, it sucks that Sean got tagged and kind of was just along for the ride, trying to hold on to his car. Takes out Chris along with himself. He gets himself damage, takes out Miller as well. But I mean, Sean didn't do anything wrong. Miller thought he was gonna go to the bottom, but he doesn't have to. I don't really know what the hell the 21 is doing. He took out more cars as he didn't hold his brake coming back on the track. Took out Michael Johnson as well, another one of our teammates. So, this was just as bad as the big one. It's just, and that kind of goes back to what I was saying before about the respect thing. We got to race cleaner. We got to race with our heads on correctly, and then maybe that wreck doesn't happen. Maybe a couple of our guys still get our top 5 and top 10s that I felt like they deserved and not get collected in somebody's bad restart. But one of those things you live and learn, and hopefully you'll clean it up for the next week. But one more to go, and I'm actually gonna announce this one. This is the final restart of the race, 2-lap shootout, with Mr. Grant Davis and Mr. Brandon Six. It's a good one, so let's get it up for you guys. Alright, boys and girls and kids, this is the final restart. This is a little bit of drama involved, but we are going to ride along with Mr. Six, and we're going to watch a interesting 2 laps. So, goes in the restart box, does a hell of a job in the restart box, hooks up pretty damn good. So he goes to the apron, comes back up on the track, hits the brakes, almost wrecks it, saves it somehow, some way. Like I was saying before about his own little accident or incident was when he touched the wall right there. So now he let Grant pass him. Mr. Grant does have quite a bit of damage as well. He gives him a little bump, trying to hope they maybe can free him up a little bit coming off the corner. But Grant does have does have the damage, so it's probably slowing him down on the straightaways just a little bit. So Six goes down to the bottom, tries to see if he can maybe just get side by side with him, just to kind of side draft a little bit. Wasn't able to do it, but Six still has the speed. Outbroke him in the corner. Stayed on the bottom, hooked the bottom, gassed it up, and won the damn race. Now, as this race is going on, or not race, but the last 2 laps are going on, I'm literally screaming in my head, I swear to God, if you lose this damn race, I'm kicking your ass off the damn team. That's how I felt. I probably shouldn't have just said that out loud, but that's exactly how I felt, because there's no way in hell you should have, if he did lose the race, then he should have lost the race, because there was nobody else left to win the race but you. But how would you feel about it?
I mean, I know even though I won the race and I did make that pass back on Grant to get the win, after the race I was still beating myself up because, like, it should have never been that close and it should have never happened. But like I was saying, one of the issues I was having, and it was sort of my fault, and I probably should have just did it anyway, just because of how many cars were damaged at that point. But I needed to adjust my brake bias back forward. I was still adjusted for my brake bias that I had on that long run that we had earlier in the race. I adjusted it way back to the rear tires. And as you saw here, as soon as I hit the brake, it immediately kicked out. And the only thing you can do is get off the brake, kind of put a little throttle into it, and hopefully it straightens out. Luckily it did, and I was able to get slowed down enough that I didn't just straight up kill the wall. And I was able to obviously get a run back on Grant, but yeah, I was beating myself up after that, even though, like I said, I got the win, because it should have never happened.
Yeah, well, you know, that tells me that you're actually human and you can make mistakes. I mean, I, you know, even with the mistake, I think you still did a masterful job. And coming back on the white flag, 1 lap to go, and you know, making it happen. Unfortunately, the rest of us didn't run as well. I think there was only 3 guys who finished in top 5. I think you, Sean, or top 10. I'm sorry, you, Sean, and Nick, I believe. I was very close to finishing in the top 10, but I think I finished, like I said, 11 for 12, 1 to 2. But I mean, looking at this, man, it happens. The question was, were you going to be able to get it back? And you know, I saw you giving the little love tap right there. Try, like I said, see if you can get a loose fin, and you still did a masterful job. So overall, you know, you're still on the team. I haven't fired you. Just don't do that shit again, because you know, I can't afford losses like that, man.
Hey, I just want to note though, I have a pretty good record at saving this car so far.
Yes.
I say usually when it steps out on me, I pretty much have saved it. I don't think I've actually wrecked it yet. So,
unlike myself, that sounds like shade. You throwing shade, sir? You throwing little shades? Like, I don't want to remember. Okay, I don't want to remember Auto Club.
First off, it may be a slight shade at you, but like, you're not the only one, because we've seen, as over the 4 weeks of racing we've had, and we've seen a lot of guys overcorrect these cars. So
yeah, very true, very true. Got replays and data to back that one up.
Yes, we do. But we're gonna be off to Coda next week. What do you feel about that?
I feel pretty good about Coda. I think Coda is an opportunist track. I mean, like I said earlier, you know, we got quite a bit of road people that are just damn good at road. Matt Danson is probably the best road driver in the league. There are some guys who can definitely give him a run for the money, but I mean, unfortunately, unless I see something happen to him, unfortunately, he might have it in the bag. But best believe we're going to give him a run for the money. We're not going to just roll over and just lay over and let him take the win. So, you know, we're going to do what we can do to, whether that's, you know, change it up with strategy, whether that's, there's really nothing else we can really do because there aren't any cautions. So, it's really just going to be about strategy, saving your tires, and just trying to make sure we're there at the end. I mean, to be honest with you, it's the only thing we can really do. How do you feel about Coda?
I feel pretty good. Put a ton of laps in so far through the 2 weeks that we've had. I mean, honestly, kind of looking forward to it. I know Coda was one of the most exciting road courses that you guys had last year.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I think it could be another good one. Like you were saying, I think a lot of guys. Obviously, Danson's probably going to be the one to beat. But I think a lot of us could give him a run for his money. New car, a lot of things to learn. And then also, I got a new paint scheme showing up for Coda this week.
Yes, you do. So, thanks to the guy who runs Life of a Sim Racer, that of course is me. we we decided to join Mr. Six in his adventure for his Real Sim Racing Championship. So for the rest of the year, actually I don't know if it's really the rest of the year, but for the majority of the year going forward, he's going to be running the Life of a Sim Racer paint scheme. That paint scheme was done by Mr. Elwood, Alan Elwood, also known by Elwood Designs. So any iRacers out there that needs paint done, hit him up on Twitter, and Facebook. He does some amazing paint schemes. And if he can't do it, I'm pretty sure he can direct you to somebody that can. But for the majority of the time, I know he's booked on paint schemes. But again, he does a masterful job on his paint schemes. But speaking of paint schemes, and I guess I'll transcend over to want to thank our sponsors, as always, Digital-Motorsports, Battle Beaver, Boosted, and also with the team Keepin It Real Esports. We are coming to the end of the show, and I don't know. I think I'm ready for Coda. I think I feel pretty confident. I just need a top 5, honestly. I mean, a win would be great, but if I can get a top 5, I'm happy with it.
Yeah, I know my goal is going to be top 10, honestly. I mean, I feel like I'm a good road course racer, but I'm not to dancing level.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. All right, well, folks, that is the end of the show. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. I know it's a little bit long. I can promise you that next week it will be a lot shorter. And just because, again, we don't have cautions. So, basically, it'll just be talking about the overall, how our race went for us. Kind of the normal stuff that we talked about at the beginning. So from me and from Mr. Six, I want to thank you guys again for listening and hanging out. Hope you guys stay safe, and we will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.